What's up everyone? Welcome or welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, what's up? My name is Courtney Capano and I am so excited to have you. As you can see by the title, this is a second trimester update. This is all the things that have happened through the second trimester. I have had a lot of you ask me for updates and what I've been going through, and I try to show that a lot through my vlogs and different videos, but I definitely have not done an in-depth update since my first trimester update video. So I want to just document all of this so that I have it to look back on, and also to hopefully help you if you're going through your second trimester right now, or if you just found out you're pregnant, or even if you're not pregnant yet but eventually you hope to be. I hope this is helpful to just hear from someone else, you know, the different things that I have gone through. It's not to say that you're going to experience the same things. I can tell you right now, there's a lot of things I wish I knew before being pregnant and before going through my second trimester that I didn't know was going to happen to me, because no one I knew had gone through anything like this. So everyone's experience is so different, and it's important to just note that. However, I still hope this is helpful for you to just hear how things have been going for me. If you are new and you don't know, I am currently pregnant with twin baby girls, identical girls. I'm actually in the nursery right now. I have not shown any of their nursery yet until we do the full nursery tour, but this little corner over here I've been showing and filming from because it's so cozy. I love this nursing chair. It's my big Bertha nursing chair that's supposed to be good for two babies. So crazy that I'm already in the final week of my second trimester. I'm 27 weeks right now, and looking back and preparing for this video has been crazy to think through what I went through this whole second trimester. And so within this video, I am going to break it out by week to just tell you what I went through from week 13 to week 27. And luckily I documented how I was feeling, symptoms, big milestones, things that happened each week. I wrote down in my notes app so that I, again, can look back on it and so that I could film this video. So that's how I'm gonna break it out to start, just to let you know how everything went week by week. And then I am going to have a whole section at the end of this video all around things I wish I knew before my second trimester. Things that I ideally would have loved to have known so that I could prepare. However, that's not how life works. That's not how pregnancy works. But I figured I would share it with you to maybe just give you a heads up that some things happen in your second trimester that maybe you're not expecting, and if that's helpful to even one person, that's great for me. So let's get into it. So starting from week 13 to 14, and I would say that definitely week 13 I started to feel better. I should note, in case you haven't seen other videos of mine, I was very sick my first trimester. I did not have morning sickness. I was definitely not sick in the morning. I actually think I felt my best in the mornings, which was still not good, but I definitely felt sick all day long, pretty much every day. Never threw up, and I just was nauseous. I had food aversions. I couldn't be around anyone cooking. I really could only eat like pickles, string cheese, and bread. Week 13 and really week 14, I just took a complete turn and I had my energy back. I was also super tired my whole first trimester. And in week 14, it was like a light switch went on. And a few women have told me that that's what it was for them. And that's just what it was. I literally like woke up one day and had energy. I started working out again. I felt like myself again, and it was wonderful. It's nice because at that point your body hasn't really changed much depending on your pregnancy. Maybe you started showing at week 14, but my body felt the same and I had my energy back. I just felt brand new. It was great. It was right after the new year, so I was living life. I wrote in here weeks 14 through 16. It was really just winter time, so this was all like the month of January pretty much. So there wasn't too much going on. Like for us, January is never really a busy month. We just kind of reset. So it was perfect. I was working out, I was taking it easy, I was able to incorporate healthier foods back into my diet, because in the first trimester, again, it was just like bread, cheese, like just things that were really salty were the only things I could get down without being so sick. And so it was nice to just like feel healthy and balanced again. And that's kind of what was going on through week 16. Not much to really note there. I just felt great. And then we went into February. And so February was a super special month. It is my birthday month and it's Valentine's Day. And it was the month that we found out the gender of our babies. So you can find out the gender of your babies as early as I think 8 or 9 weeks now through blood work. But we knew that we didn't want to find out super early. I wanted to wait until I was close to halfway through my pregnancy before finding out, because there's so much to look forward to with pregnancy, and the uncertainty of, not knowing what you're carrying, but just being excited about a baby, I don't know, is something that you don't get back once you find out the gender, because then you just know, you start picturing them, I don't know, it's just a different feeling. So we waited until we were 18 weeks pregnant to find out and kind of announce what we were having. And if you haven't seen any of my videos around our gender reveal and all of that, I definitely suggest checking those out. I'll link it up here. I had a lot of people find my channel from those videos. The same thing with our twin video. When we found out we were having twins, I got a lot of new viewers from that and subscribers, so definitely check those videos out if you haven't. It was a really special month. We had a whole weekend where we had 22 of our closest family and friends come away on a ski trip. Jonathan came down the mountain with the powder of the color associated with the gender. And we did pink and blue. I know that you can do any color with any gender totally, but that's just how we did it. It was just so special. I don't know, finding out and then just soaking up, the idea of having 2 baby girls has just been so wonderful. It still is so wonderful. But that was just such a special month. And that was, again, weeks 17 through 20. So something else that I want to note, so I mentioned that they are identical twin girls. But there's a lot of terminology that you begin to discover through pregnancy, so it's fine if you don't know what this means, but they are monochorionic diamnionic twins, which means that they're sharing a placenta essentially. So they are high risk, and they've been high risk since we found this out at week 10 or something like that. So they have been closely monitored throughout the whole pregnancy. Usually you only, see a doctor once a month. We've been seeing doctors every 2 weeks, every week. I'll get to this later on, but we're seeing doctors even more frequently now. We have definitely had a lot of ups and downs through all of that, and I don't usually share that on here because it's very personal. I've had a lot of really hard days. I definitely have not been okay a lot of this pregnancy, but it's something that I don't always want to share because I do want to stay positive, and I also don't want to overstress myself, overstress them, whatever. So that all being said, we were just so grateful that for so long everything, was just going so well. This period of time through the second trimester has been so special and wonderful because I've been feeling so good and the girls have just been growing. And so we hit week 20. And we had the anatomy scan, checks on the growth of the babies, and you get to see, are they on track? What percentile are they in as far as growth? I know a lot of people talk about that. Our little munchkins are very small because Jonathan and I aren't huge people anyway, and twins always are usually pretty small. But so we had the anatomy scan, and that went really well. They were so happy with the way they were growing, everything looked so good. We did find out that one baby has a marginalized placenta, which just means that the placenta is really off to one side. So that can cause issues throughout the pregnancy with the baby not getting enough, again, nutrients and things that it needs to grow as fast as the other baby that has a placenta in a more ideal location. So not to get too technical, but I want to remember all of this for myself too, so I do want to add all of that detail in here, but it can also be helpful if you are pregnant in the future and some of these things come up, to just remember, oh, I heard about that once before. And I do have another update for week 20, but before I do get into that, I did just want to stop and pause for 1 second, because speaking of being a mother, Mother's Day is right around the corner, and I've talked about Ana Luisa before. It's a jewelry brand that is sustainable, eco-friendly, earth-conscious. I am obsessed with them. I honestly wear pretty much only Ana Luisa jewelry, so any anytime you see me with jewelry on my body, it's most likely from them. But they are having a sale for Mother's Day. It's buy one, get one 40% off. So you can get yourself something and then get your mother something, or just a special woman in your life, a mother in your life, or just buy 2 things for yourself, like however you want to do it. They do have necklaces like this. I don't know if it's gonna be, this is my favorite necklace. It says Mama, as you can see. I wear it all the time, from Ana Luisa. So that's such a special gift for a mother in your life. It comes in really nice packaging. I think that, again, I've made it so clear in all my videos that I love brands that are environmentally conscious, and I love brands that not only produce products that are eco-friendly, but produce packaging that is, you know, easily recycled or reused. Like their packages at Ana Luisa, they always come in different colors. These are the 2 that I just picked up today. But it's like this nice, I think it's like cloth material with these little easily claspable buttons that can be reused. Like their jewelry comes in these little pouches that I hold. Like in here right now is all of my stud earrings and all of my like bigger hoop earrings. And this is how I store my jewelry. So it's recyclable, it's reusable materials. I also just got these earrings that I'm so excited to wear. They have really trendy pieces like these. I would definitely consider these more trendy. And they also have like gold hoops, silver hoops, things that can be more staples in your jewelry that you can wear all the time. And I love brands that offer, you know, both of those things that you can wear every now and then to dress up an outfit, and then pieces that you can wear all day, every day. And I wear these in the shower when I work out. They never tarnish. They're really good quality. I am going to link the website down below, a link to shop, and then also I will link the discount code to get the buy one, get one 40% off. Okay, so getting back into the video. So as I mentioned, at week 20, we had the anatomy scan. And when you're pregnant with twins, and this may be just because of our twin pregnancy, I'm not sure if it's all twin pregnancies, but we were told we had to get a fetal echo exam. We had to go into Boston Children's Hospital in the city and basically have the baby's heart examined to see if everything was working accordingly. And I debated how much I wanted to share about this on here because, again, a lot of this is really personal, but when I chose to do this YouTube thing, I chose to really be candid and honest with what's going on in my life as long as I'm comfortable. And I definitely was excited that we got to 20 weeks and everything was just going so well with a pregnancy that we were told was going to be, you know, really high risk and a lot could go wrong. So I just want to continue to acknowledge how grateful I am for that. But we got to this fetal echo exam and there were 2 problems, I guess, for lack of better words, that they found, one on each baby. And they found essentially a hole on one baby's heart, and they found an extra vein on one baby's neck. And so I'm being candid about this because I had never heard of anyone that I knew or that I had seen on YouTube. Like no one had ever talked about this happening with their baby, then their baby's being okay. But the doctor did note that this can be very common with babies. Just a lot of babies aren't getting this test done, right? So they wouldn't know. And she essentially reassured us that, you know, the hole will most likely close and that extra vein will most likely fall off and it will not cause a problem. So they are not concerned in this meeting. They are not concerned. Obviously my mind starts going to the craziest places, and I was kind of beating myself up for getting so stressed out about that because Jonathan is so good at being rational and saying the doctors aren't concerned. If they were concerned, they would need to do more tests right now. Like, it's okay. And I kind of just beat myself up through a lot of the pregnancy for overthinking some of the things we were being told. But looking back on it now, like, that, it just means that I love my babies and I want to make sure they're okay, and it's fine to overthink and want more answers. And so I did ask a lot of questions to this doctor and then to another doctor afterwards, just to get more clarity on what this meant, because you find out anything and then they kind of supplement it with, but don't worry, they're gonna be okay and we don't need to run any more tests. Basically, they told us, you know, when they're here, before you check out of the hospital, we're gonna run some tests and check on these 2 things. Great, but I wanna know what these things could possibly cause for my baby. Like, what are the negative side effects of these two things if they don't heal? Things like that I wanted more answers on, and so I did press and ask questions, and I just encourage you to always feel like you can do that, even if it's something that you don't understand or something that you're being told is totally fine, which hopefully for my baby girls, this is totally fine. We just are going to continue to make sure they're growing and okay. We're just going to run tests in the NICU when they're here. That was week 20. It was kind of a lot. And then at that point, we were more than halfway through the pregnancy, because for us, with twins of this kind, you can't go past 36 weeks. So at week 18, we were at the halfway point, really. And then week 22, we got to finally like measure them. So the anatomy scan makes sure that everything is growing accordingly on their body, like they have all of their limbs and things like that. It was week 22 that we really got to measure them and see how they were growing a little bit more in detail. Feels like so long ago, week 22. Anyways, at week 22, they were measuring totally fine. And it felt so good to see that. I was so proud of them, and I just remember being like, or feeling so accomplished. I was like, they're growing, we're doing everything right. Let's keep this going. Also found at this point some like lakes in my placenta. And again, I'm giving these updates because it could be something that happens with you. And I don't know, this was just our reality. So one of the technicians doing an ultrasound found like lakes in my placenta, was worried that it was placental bleeding, which can be very bad and can cause you to go into preterm labor or whatever. So that was also scary at week 22. It was really stressful. But we went for additional testing, and my fetal specialist was not concerned. She thought it was just like shadows. They essentially said it was fine, but I just wanted to note it in here because that was really stressful for a little while, but it was okay. Also at week 22, I remember this vividly because 22 is Jonathan and I's like special number, and it was week 22 that I could start to feel little flutters, which is really late. Like a lot of women can start feeling them at like week 18. If it's your second pregnancy, you can feel them as early as like week 14. For me, because of the anterior placenta, it's very common to not feel them or feel flutters or anything until a little bit later. So it was like week 22, and you kind of go through a period where you feel little flutters, but you're like, is that gas? Like, what is that? But at week 22, I was like, okay, no, those are little feet or little hands. And the flutters are the best thing in the whole world. They still are. They're definitely not just flutters anymore, which I'll get to, but the flutters, it's just amazing. Like, there's nothing like it in the whole world. I would literally just like lay in bed at night and feel the flutters and just like cry from the hormones and from how much I just loved feeling them. And since then, I've felt them so frequently, and it's so wonderful. Week 23, this was the week before our baby moon. So if you are subscribed, you probably saw our baby moon vlog, but we knew we wanted to go on our baby moon early. A lot of people go, you know, when they're at week 30 or whatever, but we went at like week 24 because I didn't want to travel any later than that. We went down to Florida. And so at week 23, we had a few appointments just to make sure we were all good to travel and get on a plane with the pressure. And with the girls, we just were like, actually Jonathan was really like, we need appointments like lined up to tell us if we're good to go. So we had all those appointments and everything was totally fine. So we were good. The doctor was like, go for it. After this, let's chill with the planes. I was like, yes, ma'am. So then week 24, we went on our baby moon. I wrote on here that I could start seeing the vertical line on my belly at week 24. I still don't know if it's actually there. Jonathan's like, no, I think I see it. Some women get like that darker line that like runs down their belly button in the middle of their belly. I don't really see it, but I don't know why I wrote that down. We could start seeing like shadows of it. I think it's like a hormone thing or something. I wrote in here, week 24, we could really start to feel them moving constantly. Like, it was such a special week for that to happen because we were on our baby moon, and Jonathan and I literally would just be like by the pool or like laying in bed at night, just like holding them, feeling them. Like we could feel them like fully turn. And it was just so special. I will say that I feel like my hormones really started kicking in at week 24. Like on the baby moon, I cried a lot, but it was like such happy tears. Like I remember one morning I was up. I haven't really mentioned this yet. I think I'm going to mention it at the end when I talk about one of the symptoms I've had, which is insomnia. But I just like wasn't really sleeping, and on the Babymoon I was up pretty much the whole night, but I would just like hold them and feel them, and I just like sobbed to Jonathan in the middle of one night because I was just so sad that eventually they're not going to be in my belly anymore. I'm literally going to start crying. The hormones hit, and I never even thought about the fact that I would be like sad that, you know, they're not going to be in my belly forever. So I just like cherish so much every single day that I have them in my belly. But anyways, hormones really started kicking in at week 24, so look out for that. Moving on. So then week 25, I had my glucose test, and so I need to just say that women scared the crap out of me with this glucose test. Everyone was like, it's so disgusting, bring a straw, like all this stuff. It's essentially a water bottle that's not even big. It's like the mini size water bottles that you get at like the grocery store, and you can pick a flavor. They have like orange and lemon lime. I got the lemon lime one. It essentially is like a really sugary soda, and I did bring a straw because some women were like, it's so gross, bring a straw and chug. But the straw would have taken way longer, honestly. Jonathan was like, just close your eyes and chug that thing. I've seen you chug a beer before, you can do it. So I honestly just like held my nose and just like chugged it so quick. It was epic. He was like clapping, and I was like, all right, yeah, we got this. It was a nice moment. It's totally fine. I had a little bit of an upset stomach after because you can't eat like 2 hours before. So I just like chugged water and I was fine. So just an FYI that you'll be fine. I know that there's a lot of like blogs and stuff out there that say it's so bad. It really wasn't bad. And I recommend the lemon lime. It tasted like Sprite, like really sugary Sprite. The orange one looked kind of disgusting to me. So maybe that one is really bad. Which, if you don't know, glucose tests test you for diabetes. So with twins, you have a higher risk of having gestational diabetes, but I was negative for that. However, I did find out that I am anemic, which kind of sucked. So I found out like like 3 days later or something like that, they called and said that I'm anemic. I don't think that I fell like on a level of being really anemic. I've heard that when your levels show that you are like very anemic, they sometimes like take you back into the hospital, run some other tests or whatever. They didn't do any of that for me. They just told me to get on a more iron-rich diet, take some iron supplements and all of that. So I'm obviously not thrilled, but I was happy that I didn't have diabetes. So we focus on the silver linings over here. And then, so that brings us to week 26, which was last week. I will say that last week was probably the toughest week of this entire pregnancy. We had an appointment, and again, like if you couldn't tell, things have just been going so well, and it has been such a blessing with twins. I mean, I was talking with someone like 2 weeks ago that had twin baby boys that came at 25 weeks, and they were okay. They spent months in the NICU, but they were okay. And so to get to a point where you're hearing that other people have delivered their children, you know, earlier than the point that you're at and they've been okay is so reassuring, but it's still just like so scary to think of these girls coming like too early. Essentially week 26, which was last week, we had our normal fetal specialist appointments, and they did notice that baby A has started to like slow down in her growth, and that's something that we always knew could be a possibility. As I mentioned, that's the reason we have all these ultrasounds. We are checking to make sure that they are growing at a consistent pace and that one baby isn't taking too much. And so the specialist was really concerned, visibly concerned, and wanted us to go like immediately into the hospital to get further testing, and the hospital ended up not being able to take us that day, so we went 2 days later. And essentially they have noticed a few things that are raising a little bit of red flags, and so going forward we're actually going to have about 3 appointments a week to just continue monitoring them, and it's just going to be part of our journey now, and we're going to make sure that they're doing what they need to do, and we're going to continue to try to see if they are safer in my belly or if they need to enter the world and meet us earthside. And it's really scary, and I want them to stay in my belly for so much longer, and we just like pray that that will be what happens. But if they have to come sooner, they have to come sooner. So that was week 26, and that's consumed a lot of our thoughts. And that's just where we're at right now. So then it is now week 27, and we are just taking it one day at a time, and that's all you can do whenever you're pregnant. I think that it's probably stressful no matter what. I don't think that I can say that I am feeling more nervous than any other mom. I just think we've had a little bit more complications than a lot of people should have to have in a pregnancy, and it's such a blessing if you don't have all these complications. But it just means we're even more excited to meet them when they're here. So that kind of brings us to now. It's week 27, it's almost week 28. We're almost in the 3rd trimester, which is just like such a milestone. I'm going to wake up glowing in a few days when we hit that point, because you want to get to the 3rd trimester with your babes if that's the plan that the universe has in store for you. So that is my week by week update. I hope it wasn't too long or boring for you, but it was really important for me to document it and be able to look back and remember, because I think when these babies are here, I'm gonna forget my own name some days with all the craziness. So that brings us to a section of this video called like what I wish I knew. Essentially, I just want this to be me telling you some things to look out for, things that I just wish I knew personally from my own experience. So they may not be relatable, but I don't know. I just wrote down some random bullet points this whole trimester, and I'm gonna go through them now. I haven't even looked through this list in a little while. So first thing that I wrote was, well, first of all, I wish I knew how good I'd feel in the 2nd trimester, because I wouldn't have worried so much in the 1st trimester. The worst part about my 1st trimester was how like scared I was that I was going to feel like that my whole pregnancy. And so many people kept saying, don't worry, like it's gonna change, you're gonna feel better, you're gonna feel like yourself again. But you just go into this like dark place where you're like, wow, this is my journey this whole pregnancy, because you just feel so sick and so not like you don't have energy to like do anything. But I will just say that for the most part, majority of women do end up feeling better. So stay hopeful and positive if you're not feeling good, because it's a very small amount of women that feel really sick the whole time. The next thing I wish I knew is that my worry would go away in some ways and get worse in others. So not to dampen the experience for you, but I mentioned in my 1st trimester recap that I was so afraid of miscarrying. And I know you get to a certain point where like technically you can't miscarry anymore. It would be considered like a stillborn or something, which I'm sorry to use those terms, but I definitely was so afraid, like every time I went to the bathroom, that there would be blood, and like all these different things were just consuming my mind, and before the baby was like viable. And that does go away, but you do kind of add new layers of concerns to your list. So I wish I knew that, I guess, beforehand, because I was just so worried about so many things that were out of my control. And I assumed that I would get to a point where I would stop worrying, but I didn't ever get to that point. I just started accepting my worry as meaning that I am just a good mother already. And that's my reminder to you that you're already such a good mother. Every time you worry, even when people tell you to stop worrying, it's okay, you keep worrying if you have to. It just means you care so much. Hey, by the way, not trigger warning, but like TMI warning, I am gonna get personal and talk about my vagina a bit. So I did have a really, and I still kind of do, have a very swollen downstairs area. And this is very common, and I didn't know that before I was pregnant. Now, being pregnant and joining these different like online groups of different moms, or reading things or watching different videos that are talking about symptoms, I've seen that a lot of women do get swollen down there. It's very normal. There's extra hormones and there's a lot going on. So it's really normal, but it is really jarring when one day you're like, whoa, it gets swollen down there. And apparently I've heard that it gets even more swollen in the 3rd trimester. So TBD on that. Check back in with my 3rd trimester update. And then next I wrote that the 2nd trimester for me, it made everything feel so much more real. And I guess that's kind of what I was getting at with the worry piece that I don't know if I articulated well enough, but it just, the worry I had the whole first trimester was so much around like getting them to be at a place where like it felt real, like they were babies, and I just wanted them to get to a point where I wouldn't just miscarry this embryo. And the whole second trimester, they just become so much more real. Like I could picture them, and when you feel them, you just have this connection that is so much different than the first trimester. It's not like you love them more or anything, but it feels so much more real in the second trimester. At least it did for me. And I wrote, I wish something that I wish I knew, to order a bigger freaking water bottle sooner. The dehydration is so real. I am loving my new 32-ounce hydro flask. I was using like the 26 or 22 ounce Yeti for a while, and Jonathan was refilling it like every second. So it's been so nice to have this huge water bottle that honestly still needs to get filled a lot because I chug water, which is good, but get a huge water source for your pregnancy. Highly recommend. And then next, heightened libido. So I did mention this in my first trimester update video, but I, you know, was told by the doctors that we could not have sex. I really didn't want to be intimate. I was just not feeling good. Got to the second trimester and we were advised that we were fine to be intimate again. And I think it's important to note that because I have read and seen a lot of women that get really discouraged because they don't feel connected to their partner during pregnancy, especially in the first trimester. And I just want to let you know that eventually you will most likely have a heightened libido and you will feel better about being intimate in that way. It's very common to have ebbs and flows, but the flow usually comes back. And so it definitely did for us, which has been really important in pregnancy. I think you want to feel connected to your body, and you definitely want to feel connected to your partner if that's important to you. I know for some people intimacy isn't an important part of a relationship, so keep doing whatever works for you, but that was just something else that came up for me in this second trimester. So I alluded to this a little bit, but another symptom that I had was insomnia. And so what did I write in here? Insomnia is so real, and like clockwork, I would be up for at least 3 hours in the middle of the night. So that in the last week or so has actually gotten a little bit better, but for about 3 or 4 weeks, I would fall asleep easy because I'm usually pretty exhausted by nighttime, but then I would wake up like clockwork from like 1 to 4 a.m. and just be up. And it actually is a really good thing. I've read some research on this, and a lot of specialists say that it means it's one, like preparing your body for when the newborns are here, because that'll be when they need to feed. You're kind of used to being awake during windows in the middle of the night. And also it can mean that it's when they're eating, like the amniotic fluid, it's kind of stimulating hormones in your body and you're awake. So there's like a science behind it. So I really never minded. And honestly, especially when they were active in the middle of the night, like I just felt connected to them, because a lot of times during the day in pregnancy, you're rocking them to sleep by moving so they don't move too much. So I liked those nights. Honestly, it never really bothered me. And sometimes I could fall back asleep in the mornings and I was fine. I mentioned already how emotional I became kind of at week 24. Hormones, things like that. Give yourself grace, as you should anyway. As a woman, we definitely can be emotional, but it just means we have big hearts, we care deeply. And so just know that that definitely gets heightened in pregnancy, and it certainly has for me. I will literally cry at the drop of a dime these days. Only a few more here. And sorry I'm like reading specifically off this, but I want to kind of channel what I was feeling when I wrote these things. So the next one I wrote, this isn't necessarily what I wish I knew, but what I'm grateful for, or what I'm grateful that we've done, is nearly complete the nursery, because now as I continue to grow and certain things become more difficult, I can be happy with knowing the nursery is set. I pretty much just said exactly how I feel. We had our shower earlier than you normally, I think, do with pregnancy. I think you can make your own rules also. The nursery is pretty much set, and it's just not something that we need to stress about, especially as we progress through this pregnancy. This third trimester, we can just take a breather, start preparing emotionally for these babies, and kind of physically everything is ready for them. So I actually recommend doing a shower earlier, also because you feel really good. I've heard the third trimester I might I might start feeling a little bit more sluggish, not have the energy to entertain a ton of women at a shower. I don't know, but I'm really grateful that we had the shower when we did. So a plug if you're like leaning towards a later shower, maybe scoot it a little earlier. Oh, and then last, I wanted to just end this out with symptoms. I have just like a list of symptoms that I wish I knew I was going to have before this trimester. And I've mentioned most of these symptoms kind of through this whole video, but just to kind of end with things that you can look forward to when you are pregnant. First one is constipation. This is so real. I mean, if you look at visuals of a baby growing in your womb, or two babies in my case, it pushes everything up and your organs get really compressed, and it takes a lot longer for food and things to get through your body. And so I hope you liked that visual. Constipation has been so real for me. I've talked about it before. I take Miralax. I've only actually taken it like twice through the whole pregnancy. I don't want to take it much at all. There are ways to help with constipation, but it is kind of something you just have to embrace and look forward to not being constipated when you're no longer pregnant. Head congestion. So this actually eased up, but I would say the whole beginning of my second trimester, which again is a symptom that is common for women, I had a ton of head congestion and fluid buildup in my head and my ears and my nose. Like, it was not like a cold at all. I didn't feel sick, but it was just like mucousy added fluid up there. And I don't know the science behind why this happens, but my doctor said it's very normal. So that happened and I was not expecting it at all. Heartburn, which I mentioned, I pop Tums like candy. Actually, I don't. I honestly have been trying to ease up on them because I don't want my body to get like immune to them. And I don't like taking a lot of anything when I'm pregnant. So I've definitely been taking them more than I normally would, but I try to not take them too much. I've heard that apple cider vinegar is really good to just incorporate into your diet to help prevent heartburn, so I'm going to start doing that. It's not like, oh, I have heartburn, let me take apple cider vinegar. It's more like incorporate it into your morning routine or something like that, or night routine. And then lastly here is insomnia, but I already talked about that, so I don't really need to get into it again. I think I made it pretty clear that I had a lot of sleepless nights through this pregnancy, and I'm sure there are more to come. You only get to go through this pregnancy that you're having in the moment once in your life, and so for me to just focus on any of the negatives like insomnia, heartburn, like, is not what I'm choosing to do, and everyone's different. Like, if you are not enjoying your pregnancy, own that experience. You're not a bad mom because of it by any means, but for me, I really think just staying positive and just constantly being so happy and grateful to have them in my belly has been just a really important part of my experience, and it has made it better for me. So hopefully that's helpful to hear. But again, it's okay if you still are like, I cannot wait to get these babies or this baby out. But anyways, that was my second trimester update, and I will continue to keep you all in the loop. Thank you so much for asking me how I'm doing, how I'm feeling. It means the world to me to just connect with you all, whether you're a mother or you're not a mother, you're any one of my viewers or subscribers. You've just all been so wonderful and supportive, and I genuinely just love having you here. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you again, Ana Luisa, for sponsoring this video and constantly just giving me the most amazing pieces of jewelry, and I hope you all go check them out at the links down below. And I just appreciate every single one of you. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe, hang out with me. I love meeting new people, so say what's up in the comments for sure, and I will see you in my next video.
I dare you to be wilder. I don't fit into your box. Beauty queens without no flaws.